this. So Leilani has her 2 matrices carved. She wants this to be yellow and this to be black, but I'm gonna try something. And if you don't like it, you can just do black. Cool. So the first thing I want to kind of review is mixing your ink together. So I have a couple papers just from the scrap drawer back here. These inks haven't been used for a long time, so you'll want to mix them together just because they kind of separate. You guys know, like peanut butter, how if you haven't used it, the oil separates. It's the exact same thing. This yellow is a little bit runny. That's fine though. So I'm gonna just pull a test swatch of just straight yellow. So that's what it's gonna look like without mixing any other colors into it. If you wanted to, you could be like, it's too bright. I'm gonna mix it with a different color so it's not quite so bright. Anybody know what color you'd mix it with to tone it down a little bit?
Brown.
You could add brown. You could also add one other color? Purple. Why purple?
They're complementary.
Yeah, they're opposite. So if you added a tiny bit of purple, and it seriously have to be like a tiny bit, it would just like dull, it would neutralize the color. So you could do that. Okay, sorry, it's hard to demo with masks on. I am gonna say this yellow is probably a little too bright. So if I want to lighten it, you can either mix it with white or with what's called transparent base. And this is a review for most of you, but I'm using this demo for my other classes too. Cool. So transparent base looks like honey to me, like really raw honey. I just want to like put it on some toast or something, but don't. I can see you're like thinking about it. It's really thick. You still need to kind of give it a little bit of a mix, but the cool thing about transparent inks is they will be see-through. So if I printed like transparent red on top of this yellow, it would make orange where they mix. If you mix white into it, it's opaque, so it's not gonna mix when they sit on top of each other. So depending on what you want to do, I usually just try to stick to transparent base. So I'm going to take a little bit out and put it right there. Make sure you're using a new or clean ink knife for each can because you don't want to contaminate the colors. And you're slowly just going to add a little bit of ink to the transparent base. It only takes a tiny bit. It's better to keep adding more than to add too much and then have to completely start over and waste ink. So just do a little bit at a time. When you're mixing ink, you're not sitting and stirring it. You're scooping it and kind of spreading it out. So that's the proper way to mix the ink. Questions so far? So now if we compare them, it's a little bit lighter. I probably could have added a little less yellow, but what do you think?
I think it's good.
Good start. So we'll say the yellow's good. For this one, I want to try a split fountain, just so we can review that. And if you remember, a split fountain is like a gradient from one color to the other. So I thought it might be kind of cool to go from black to purple to blue, because it's kind of like galaxy-ish. If you don't like that, you can just throw it away and start a different ink. So to do a split fountain, I'm not going to mix these colors, but you could if you wanted to. You're going to layer the colors next to each other. So there's my black, and will you grab me some paper towels? Take some blue. And I want to do purple first. So we'll go black to purple to blue. Mix it. And I just ordered a bunch of new ink, so that should get here sometime next week. But if you want to look at colors, there's a chart kind of on the side of that guy. So now I'm going to put my purple right up next to the black. It's important that they're touching, so it has to be connected right here. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the blue. So I'm doing a 3-color split fountain. Cool. So we have black, purple, and blue. Now you can take your brayer, dip into it, and start rolling it out. When you roll it, you're slowly going to shift from left to right, and that's what's going to make the colors mix in the middle. I'm going to redip it one more time. You don't want to shift too much, or else the colors mix a ton, and so it can eventually just kind of blend into the same color. Okay, so there's my split fountain. That looks kind of cool. Now I'm gonna make my yellow. How do you know if you have enough ink? What are the 2 things?
It looks like a leathery texture.
Yeah, so the look of it, the texture, it's kind of pebbly. You'll notice with the transparent, it's not gonna show up as bright as that. So you really have to pay attention to the texture because you can over ink pretty easily. What's the second thing? Sound. Sweaty person, leather couch. A beautiful sound. So now I'm gonna ink up both. It's especially kind of challenging to tell if you have enough ink when it's transparent, especially because we're putting yellow on top of a yellow piece of linoleum. So the easiest way to tell if you have enough is to kind of hold it in the light. And you can kind of see that like glistening texture on there. Cool. So we inked that one up. Do you want it to go blue, purple, black, or blue, purple, black?
Black at the bottom.
Black at the bottom. Okay. That's gonna be cool. And usually the first time you're inking up the matrix, it takes a little bit more ink. So I might have to roll out a tiny bit more. And it's gonna mix even more on my matrix because I'm covering more area. That's okay, that might be kind of cool. With the split fountain, you can't change directions because you'll ruin your layers, so make sure you're kind of paying attention to that. And that's probably good. Ooh, I'm excited to see this. Just a reminder, always put your brayers roller side up so those aren't getting ruined. Now we can take both matrices over to the press and print them. Questions about this stuff? It's just kind of a crash course on mixing ink. Cool.